That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia. This is Houston, AOS over.
Welcome, everybody, to the TKW Podcast. I'm Anthony Corbo, and joining me today is Kyle Maggio.
What's going on, buddy?
And Bryan Gibberman.
What's up, man?
All right, so we got a lot of places we can go with this right now. We got a lot of good. We got a lot of bad. Where do you guys want to start after this loss to the Cavs?
Oh, I think you should let it rip right off the bat.
All right, you want me to? I am just incredibly frustrated with Emmanual Mudiay getting these opportunities in there. All right, I'm not upset that we lost because obviously a loss against the Cavs is going to be very good for us in the long run. But I'm upset that the way that the loss goes down is that Emmanual Mudiay misses. First of all, when there's 20 seconds left in the game, he tries to go for the foul immediately. And he does get fouled from behind by Delhi, but the refs were being very interesting tonight as well. We'll leave it like that. And obviously, he didn't get that call, and it just led into it was just a downfall from there. And it ended up with him literally throwing away the Knicks' last chance directly into the arms of Larry Nance. A lot of that's on Cantor for not going up and getting that ball as well. But oh man, it was just such a clusterfuck in the last 45 seconds. I don't know. Knox slammed it down, and everything was hyped, and then it just came crashing down. Is that just the identity of this Knicks team?
I'm not really that fired up. I don't know, man. I don't.
Like I said, I'm all good. I'm all good about the about the loss. I'm more upset that Kevin Knox builds a ton of momentum for this team. Gets that Mudiay heads in the pass, and then he slams it down the other end. And it was, he had a good-looking fourth quarter. He had a pretty steady game. I wouldn't say he exploded at any point throughout the game, but he looked pretty steady all game. We had a great Frank Ntilikina game again for the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth. And then it's just the way it all came crumbling down. It's just the way that I had to look at Emmanual Mudiay throw the ball directly into the arms of Larry Nance Jr. I don't mind losing. I just don't want to lose like that.
Kyle, I'm pretty chill about what happened. What about you?
I'm all right with it. And even in the inbound, it's frustrating to look at. I'll give you that much. But I also feel bad because nobody got open. Outside of that last little burst from Tim Hardaway Jr., and then for the last second, everyone just kind of stood there. I mean, nobody got open. He had to throw the ball somewhere. My only gripe would have been, he could have overthrown it instead of underthrowing wherever he was going. But it was a tough situation for nobody to break free. I mean, it just wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not. I don't feel great about it. As we've talked about a few times, I'm rooting for wins here, so you don't love to see that. The execution on an inbound, I understand sometimes it happens, but I always feel like it's inexcusable. One person couldn't shake free. But, my frustrations, at least for that inbounds, would be more on everyone else and not really on Mudiay. You got to get the ball. I mean, you got to get open. You have to.
He made the right play. Cantor should have came to the ball. That was there. But Cantor, he sunk back instead of moving towards him when he was probably the last outlet on that play.
Yeah.
If the deep pass to back half court was taken away, Cantor has to come up, so I can't put that on Mudiay either. All right, I haven't heard the stats since very early in the season, but there's no way the Knicks are efficient out of inbounds passes, and Clyde says that 18 times a game.
Oh, are you saying Clyde's bringing analysis to the game?
No, I'm saying Clyde's bringing wrong analysis to the game. It's blatantly wrong. I'd say at best, maybe they're league average, and my eyes are lying to me, and they're not terrible at it, and I just remember a couple here and there. Maybe I'm blatantly wrong, and I'm just making crap up, and Clyde's actually right, and they're really good at it, and he's gone on Synergy and looked up the numbers. I'm going to bet my money that's not actually what's happened, and he's just making things up. Can we stop doing that?
I agree with you. They definitely don't look very... It just seems like when the game comes to a stall, they have a lot of trouble making that next move. Or they have a lot of trouble carrying that momentum on for them. I think that they have had some trouble in the inbound this year, and I don't have the synergy stats to look at that either. But you just look at these guys; they're so hot and cold all the time that when the game kind of freezes up and the momentum's taken away, generally we're going to be left with more poor results than good.
All right, new starting lineup. People happy with it? Disappointed with it? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think it's. We had some problem. I think it's going to take some getting used to for Knox, for sure. He had those 3 early fouls and had to be replaced by Mario Hezonja, which drew the ire of all of us, I can tell you that much. But it was... I think that once he kind of figures out his spacing out there, he's going to be a much better option than Hezonja. Because he looked pretty... Knox has even started to look like he has an idea of where to be on defense lately, and I think that alone is going to be more than Hezonja is going to give you.
Yeah, I thought Knox looked really good out there. I think some of us on Twitter before were a little bit worried about the shot distribution with Knox in the starting lineup versus when he had a really green light when he was running with the kids. People were worried about Cantor or Timmy needing their shots and everything, but I thought he fit in mostly pretty well. Obviously, he got going there in the late in the game, but again, I mean the stats just for everyone listening. He had 19 points. This was in 32 minutes of action. 19 points, 7 rebounds. So another good game on the boards there. 1 assist and a couple of big blocks, pretty important blocks too, to be honest, and. Pretty efficient, 7 of 15 shooting and 3 of 6 from deep. So, I mean, that's another really nice game from him. And I know, Bryan, I saw you tweet before about how, this game tonight might not have the counting stats from the last game, but how this is a more impressive game for him.
Yeah, I thought he picked his spots better. The defense, I need to pay attention to it more. I haven't just sat there and zoned in and watched him play defense, but he seemed to be okay tonight and nothing horrific.
Couple of bad pump fakes he been on in the first half was the big thing. They got him a couple of times in that early barrage of threes.
He had his best sequence of the season when he blocked the shot.
Oh yes,
not the Pelicans. I have that game on my TV. The Cavs got the ball back, attempted another shot. He got the rebound, then went coast to coast and finished. Mm-hmm. So that was good. He did have another play in transition where he had no idea what to do, and he just traveled because he was just going to stumble forward. He was probably closer to falling on his face than making the layup there. But there was definitely more good than bad, and even the 2 free throws, I'm not really giving him much credit for. Someone dumbly fouled him on a floater. But there wasn't as many floaters, and he actually made an attempt to go towards the rim more, and I think that was the most important thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think his confidence is just kind of booming more, and that's allowing him to get to the rim. He's obviously just pulling up from 3 when he sees it there, and when he's driving, he just looks like he feels stronger getting in there, and I think that's done a lot for him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, actually. It looks like I tweeted it in the first half. It was one of Knox's first couple of drives, and he did that little outward step when he got to the basket instead of just trying to step in to into the contact a little bit to try to finish, and he just fades out a little bit, and he did that for the first couple of possessions, and then later in the game we saw him actually go harder towards it. I mean, he was double clutching a little bit and still kind of fumbling the ball around, but he's actually going in a little bit more, which is encouraging because the last couple of weeks we've said on this podcast that he gets kind of a little bit too flaily. When he gets near the rim, his limbs just kind of go everywhere. So it was nice to see him kind of clean that up a little bit. have a nice little compact finish there. But I don't know. I like that aspect because we were whining about his indecision in the lane. So
Can I?
So real quick before you do that, Brian, I just wanted to drop the final score: 113 Cavaliers to 106 with the Knicks. Knox went for 19 points, like Kyle was saying, 7 rebounds. Cantor led the team with 20 and 10, and Tim Hardaway Jr. also had 20 points. Sorry. What else were you going to say about Cantor or about Knox?
I was going to ask if I could circle back to the starting lineup real quick.
Oh yeah.
I think this is going to be a similar situation to what happened with the previous starting lineup, where it looks okay at the beginning, but over time it ends up not being good because the defense you're asking Knox to basically be an elite defender, and you're asking Vonleh to be an elite defender. And even, I don't know if you have 2 elite defenders, if it can make up for Cantor, Mudiay, and Hardaway all on the court together. So, I mean, tonight, you can't complain about it. Cantor was a plus 10, tied for the highest on the team, weirdly, with Hezonja, because he played at the end of the first half when the Knicks went on that run. But Cantor was fine tonight. He caught a bad break on that foul at the end of the game. I mean, I know why the ref called it. His hands were forward when it was Hood who went to the foul line, right?
I don't recall exactly off the top of my head, but yeah, still, regardless.
But just in the end, I think it's going to come back to haunt you that these guys aren't going to be able to play good enough defense together. There's a little Mudiay and Knox is going to have some lots of shots and maybe not lots on some nights that's going to be hard to handle offensively. So I think in time you're going to want to continue to see this evolve a little bit more, and they're not where it needs to be yet.
I'd like to see them try to close out with Vonleh at the 4 and Mitch at the 5. I think that would be interesting.
I thought that was kind of a glaring thing today, too, because I wanted to talk, along with the starting lineups, about the closing lineups, and Vonleh not being out there seemed to set a tone to me. I can't help but wonder if Noah Vonleh was in that play, would he have been able to get open for that final play? It's just, he's shown the strongest basketball IQ of anyone on this team so far this season, in my opinion at least. And I liked having Knox out there. I liked having Dotson out there. Like I liked how the lineup was going up until it all went south, where they had Frank at the 2 and they had Mudiay running point, throwing out the passes and everything like that. But it did seem like we were missing a defensive presence, and I thought Noah Vonleh could have brought that at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we were talking about it the last couple of days, like in our Slack chat about the optimal closing lineups, and I know Bryan was talking about making sure the kids close up, but I just think having a very fast, young lineup like that, and then if he tossed in, like if it was Frank, Timmy, Dotson, or Frank, Timmy, Knox, and then Vonleh, Mitch, I think that's a nice enough defensive lineup you can try to close out with. I think Vonleh kind of fills in for a lot of Mitchell's weaknesses in the defensive end, but especially.
Tell me about.
Oh, go ahead.
Tell me about what you guys saw out of Mitch today, because he only played 16 minutes, but
he was invisible.
Points. Yeah, he had 2 points, an assist, a rebound, a steal, no blocks. He only had 1 foul, which is, I guess, encouraging. But, yeah, he was pretty invisible, even if he looked like to be in a little bit more of better position. Wasn't necessarily going for every perimeter block that he could get.
He adjusted a couple of shots. Yeah. He didn't do anything bad. It just wasn't.
Yeah, which I
don't
wasn't
know.
Overly
impactful.
Would you rather him see like an average, not super impactful game from Mitchell Robinson, or would you rather see him trying, and making some dumb plays when he has to?
I don't know.
I guess trying is not really the right word. But
but he gambles a lot. That's how he ends up fouling.
Right,
but,
gamble, yeah.
I kind of like that gunslinger mentality, because then it leads to the nights like when he has 5 or 6 or that 9 block night.
Yeah.
So I kind of like it, but I mean, I don't know. Hey, I would prefer that right now, and just let him learn how to not foul when he does.
I really barely even remember Robinson playing tonight. Like, I'm trying to come up with something to say, but I really don't know. I would just be making it up.
And Cantor held his ground enough for most of the game, and he obviously had a really efficient scoring game tonight with 20 on 12 shots.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's hard for me to justify putting Mitch out there with the closers right now. Just because he, like tonight, he didn't really give anything. Like, you kind of have to put Cantor out there, but then you run the risk of Cantor, making bonehead moves, like not getting open for that ball at the very end. And
why do you have to play Cantor? Like, this is what I really like. A lot of what goes wrong for the Knicks lineup wise is because they're trying to play two bigs to appease Cantor. He's not going to be on the team next year. He's not really good. He's not. Like, you look at any of the numbers, he negatively impacts the team. But he played 33 minutes tonight. I know he's a plus 10 tonight. I said that before. But why does Cantor have to play 20 minutes? I don't understand why. Like, I think I brought this up last time. Kenneth Faried had 3 years left on his contract, and the Nuggets just sat him and stopped playing him. I can go through teams across the league that stuff like this happens all the time. So I don't understand why Enes Kanter has to play so much. Like, Fizdale rightfully wanted to get Luke Cornett some minutes. And it's the perfectly logical thing to do. He can make threes and he can protect the rim. And you have to play him next to Mitchell Robinson because you're forcing yourself to play Enes Kanter a certain amount of time. And that just makes absolutely no sense to play Luke Cornett and Mitchell Robinson together. It's not going to work. Cornett cannot move like that. And
they fill up both of the same space out there, and then if you put Cornett out there with Robinson too much, you're just going to end up confusing Robinson, especially when he doesn't know where he's got to be half the time anyway. Combining that with another young player, it's just going to cause a whole bunch of messes. So I would have liked to see some more minutes of the Luke Cornett too. Only 8 for him tonight. Didn't really do anything. He was a minus 10, which was not the worst on the team, but. I'd like to start seeing more combinations like that. I think that I don't think Cantor should be playing, over 30 minutes a night, and he's not a lot of nights. But there's just better things you could be trying. You could be playing Mitch for a couple more minutes. You could be playing Cornett for a couple more minutes. And just try to keep them around the 20-minute mark, if anything, if that's what you got to do. But if they were to make some changes to the starting lineup, even more moving forward, and if Cantor was to get taken out, do you guys see any validity to playing Noah Vonleh as your traditional center?
If I was allowed to pull Enes Kanter from the rotation, I would start Vonleh at center.
Okay. So you're thinking Vonleh, Knox, Dotson, Hardaway, and
Frank.
Mudiay?
No, I would play
Frank.
That would be the 5 I would go with.
Interesting. It sounds good to me. I worry about how much Vonleh would be able to do without that other. Like, I feel like it looks like he relies on the other big to get him his proper spacing out there too. Which I think if you have him in as your lone center, you might end up with less of those open 3-pointers that he's been canning all season, but. The rebounding, I think, would definitely be able to make him hold his own at that position. And defensively, you probably only have up to go from here. So we just can't keep up giving up like 40 points in the quarter. It's getting out of hand.
I've noticed this team is like a terribly slow starting team. Like I noticed this when I was thinking about Timmy. Timmy just starts. It's like he takes forever to warm up, and then in the second half, all of a sudden he hits 5 of his next 6 shots. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. I feel like maybe it's just me, but he's only gotten going in the second half lately, and I just feel like that's
right. I think that's kind of how it's been with a lot of players lately. I mean, that's what we've seen from Frank the last 2 games. That's what we've kind of seen from Knox to a lesser extent tonight too. It's just like this team has been coming alive more in the second half, or the third quarter in particular, which as Knicks fans we're not really used to. But yeah, all of them are getting off to a little bit of a slow start to begin the games. I don't know if that has anything to do with the lineups getting shuffled up or anything, or the players who are missing right now. But Yeah, it seems to be a trend that's continued on throughout the entire team, but definitely with Hardaway. Hardaway played a team-high 43 minutes tonight. Went 6 for 18, 4 for 9, but he didn't have any three-pointers before the half, did he?
I don't think so, because then he just started bombing in the second.
Yeah.
I think he made at least 3.
I think he hit 1 or 2 in the first half.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but I'm not 100% on that.
I think it was 1, because then I feel like he made 3 of the next 4 he took in the second half. But
Kyle, you've had an opinion that Hardaway has been a little bit better than people have been giving him credit for lately, even as he started to slow down a little bit. You've been definitely leading the charge on his field goal percentage isn't as bad as it appears, right?
yeah, it clearly could be better from 2. Like that's what I think people don't understand is I'm not totally disagreeing, but at the same time, we're acting like he's just inaccurate everywhere, and it's if you're taking. I remember this happened with, I think, Robert Covington a couple of years ago. His field goal percentage was, stupid low. It was, in the 30s, but it was right near his three-point percentage, and he was taking, 65% of his shots from 3. And it's if almost all of your shots are threes, or a decent amount of your shots, like Timmy's is 50%, are threes, and you're shooting, league average or better, that's okay to me that your field goal percentage is lower. Again, obviously, he would shoot a little bit better from 2, but to me, it's we're not looking at that properly. To me, it's almost what we're using batting average instead of OPS in baseball to measure things, and just really getting stuck on the batting average. And I just think that we gotta overlook that too. His free throw percentage is up too. It's not like he's just chucking. I mean. We've seen how the offense looks without him. He's the creator on this team, and it gets really ugly. So I think he's doing all that he can for a role that they never thought he was going to have to do. So that's my only thing.
So, Kyle, I was curious about what you said about the Hardaway slow start. So I went and looked it up before. I'm not sure if this is including tonight or after, but 36 from the field, 34.7 from 3 in the first half, 42 from the field, and 39.3 from 3 in the second half. So there's definitely a jump from him in the first half to the second half.
See, I just don't know why it is. I really don't. I don't know if it's just as simple as his body doesn't really warm up, because I'm a guy like that. When I play ball, the first half, I don't really even feel warmed up, and then the second half is when I really get the juices flowing. But I don't know if it's something as simple as that or a confidence thing, but it just seems like in the second half he's just okay, I'm back, I got it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with when the whole team is gelling together too. These guys seem to heat up whenever everyone else gets going. You had Mudiay, or you had Frank start hitting his shots in the third. You had Knox staying aggressive all game, and when everyone's going together and when everyone's kind of gelling, it's gonna work wonders throughout the rest of the team. I think it's got that ripple effect for sure. So we've seen that the last couple of games from Frank, and I would just say that this team knows how to come out of the half pretty hot at least.
You mentioned Frank. Tonight is the perfect example of why he just needs to play. He just needs to play with the ball in his hands and learn and gain experience. He made some shots, and he's doing a nice job creating some space for his jumper and even getting to the rim a little bit. But he had the 4 turnovers, and there's still those plays where you can see the speed of the game isn't there yet for him. So just getting that all out of the way this year and letting him continue to just experiment and try things on the court. So next season, when you're hopefully winning games at a much higher rate, that he's ready to go at that point. There needs to be more of him. What they were doing at the end of the game didn't make any sense. I get it. Mudiay, he had 7 rebounds or 8 assists. One of those numbers
both of those, I think.
Yeah. I mean, but it's 8 with one and 7 with the other. I forget.
Okay, gotcha.
8 board, 7 assists.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Smart person having the box score open while talking about the Knicks game. I can't. Who would think of doing something like that?
I'm not always so smart.
And this Fizdale, like, I'm trying hard here, and he's going defense, offense, but he's subbing one of the two best defensive players out for each other. Like, he's taking out Dotson to put in Frank and leaving Mudiay, Hardaway, and Knox on the court. That doesn't make a lick of fucking sense. None. And that's just something that a smarter coach does not do. I don't understand what's happening there.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess I'm.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
Oh man, now we're being polite to each other. This is strange.
Mm-hmm. No, drop it.
I would have loved to see Frank close out. I just think that's what they did the last couple of nights, and I thought he was right on par with the exact same level of play. I think more than that than we've hoped to see. I mean, he's doing a hell of a job now, but I just thought they would have just let him ride it out again. Fizz kind of strikes me as that kind of guy, like riding the hot hand, and then he's like he tries to get cute, you know?
Right, and that's exactly it, where Frank clearly was a hot hand. He slowed down, after the first couple of minutes of the fourth for sure. I think his last field goal came within, like, the first 2 minutes of the quarter, but still, it's like you got to roll with the guy who's been confident. It's been the hot hand for the last 2 games. Instead you take him out of the game. You have Mudiay in there who, it wasn't like he had a great couple of plays before those last couple ones. There was the pass to Knox, but I didn't really see too much out of him other than that. And then you had Frank, who was, looking good all game, looking like looking like he believed in his shot, which is something that we hadn't really seen from Frank in a while. Other than the last couple of games where he was just kind of putting it up tonight, and especially at the beginning of the game, it just wasn't falling for him. And but to his credit, he just kept on going with it. He even got to the rim a couple of times. Frank looked like he felt good out there, and the fact that he wasn't out there for the end of the last couple of plays was frustrating. And the fact that he kept getting taken in and out too. I mean, you just got to let the guy roll out there.
Yeah, I panicked when they took him out, and I got a little bit frustrated at first. I think that was around like the 4.5 minute mark, and he comes back in like almost immediately. I think it was like a minute later, and then they take him right back out, and I was like, all right, like this is we are over fucking thinking this one, man. Just leave him in. It's not that complicated.
That's a bit. It's just he has a tendency to overthink things like that in this situation,
which is strange to me because he strikes me as like the whatever his hunch is guy. Like that's the kind of guy he strikes me as. Like whatever's working, whatever he's feeling like.
And maybe to a fault, though. Maybe it's not always what's working. Maybe it's what he feels.
He was trying to do smart coach stuff, but within trying to do smart coach stuff, he wasn't doing smart coach stuff, if that makes sense. What did they say? Jim Boylan
last week? You ain't Greg Popovich and this ain't the Spurs?
Did you guys, real quick, listen to the Dan Le Batard show today?
I got through some of it.
Did you hear the part when they talked to Stan Van Gundy joins them every Wednesday? Did you hear the part when they asked Stan Van Gundy his thoughts on Jim Boylan?
Yes, and then Stugatz didn't finish, and they all spent the rest of the segment yelling at him, and then went back. That was terrific radio.
Oh my no! Oh man, the part where Stan's like, yeah, he should be quiet instead of talking to the press. And then they all lost. They're just like, they just told Stan Van Gundy told Jim Boylan to shut up. And then they all lost. It was great. It's great radio. It's tremendous content. All right, but I don't know why it reminded me of that.
All this is to say is that David Fizdale shouldn't be thinking that this is Spurs and that he's Greg Popovich. Just let him roll. Just read the situation. Just kind of keep rolling with the players that you have out there, the players that have gotten you to that point. All the extra subbing, it frustrates me.
Well, bringing in Dotson for defense isn't, or Frank, or whichever one, bringing in Dotson in the game isn't necessarily a dumb thing to do. That you want 2 good defenders out there.
Right.
But don't.
Yeah, but Frank was out at the end too.
Don't take out the other good defender.
Yeah.
That doesn't. I don't get it.
And see, it's even more frustrating because you have two guys who are going to be near equal value on defense out there, and you take out the one who's hot offensively for the guy who didn't really do anything the whole game.
I'm trying to think too. Do you guys think that and this is an honest question because Mudiay again has been mostly pretty good over the since he's been back. So do you think that that's just trying to ride with what got you there? Like, Mudiay's kind of won the starting job. So do you think that's just Fizdale going like, look, that's the guy that we're probably going to go with. I'm just going to ride it out, see what happens versus leaving Frank in.
I think first of all, I don't think that Mudiay has won the starting job necessarily. I think we've seen with all the Knicks this year.
You think it's reopened?
I don't think it's ever going to be closed entirely. You see it with every one of the Knicks guards this year that they all have stretches of games where they look really good, and then they have stretches of games where they look really bad. There's going to be another stretch of games this season where Emmanual Mudiay looks really bad. I don't know if you can justify starting him then and everything. I will say that they have found a niche together, and for the most part, they look to be, knowledgeable of where they all are on the court at least. But it's just, I don't know. I can't necessarily say that Mudiay, I could easily see him getting swapped out for Frank at some point. I could see Trey Burke coming back and getting that spot back. I just have no idea.
See, I think the Mudiay regression is already kind of hitting.
It feels like it.
He's good.
He had a nice line that was inefficient tonight, but yeah, he had a lot of turnovers.
He's good when your team is down and you need someone to kind of bring you back. But when it comes to the big moments when you're actually there and you need someone to push you over the edge, he just doesn't have it most nights.
I guess I'm kind of making crap up. He's 41, 40, 88, 88 in December. 6 games. I don't think it's up, but his plus minus has gotten worse. So the shooting numbers are still there right now. So that's unfair for me to say.
No, but it's been a little bit more. I think the efficiency's been there, but we've seen more variance from his scoring numbers. Whereas for that, there was that couple of weeks where it was just automatic, he was going to get you between 12 and 18, and then he'd have that a couple of 20-point games tossed in. But now we've seen it go from 12 down to 3 or 4, then back up to 11 or 12, and then he's been having a little almost like Frank does that disappearing act. We've seen that with Mudiay a little bit too, but. Overall, I think he's still just maintaining mostly that level of play. He's been mostly consistent. So that's why I wonder if that's the route Fizdale was trying to go on. Right or wrong, I'm not saying it's the right move, but
the Knicks have also only won a single game so far in December, and that was overtime against the Bucks by 2 points. Whether or not Mudiay is necessarily his shooting numbers still look efficient and everything like that, it's not like it's producing wins. And this is supposed to be the easy part of the schedule right now. We just lost against the Wizards. We lost against the Nets. Lost against the Hornets. Lost against the Cavs. We got to play the Hornets again on Friday, and then after the Suns, you play the Hawks, and it starts to get a lot more. It starts to get a lot more challenging after that. So I just don't see how, they're gonna play any better moving forward when you're already going through the lightest part of your schedule right now.
And digging a little deeper, we weren't wrong to think the regression has started with him. Despite those good numbers that I just recited, his usage has gone up from 20 to 24 in November to December. His true shooting percentage has dropped about 3%. His effective field goal percentage has dropped 4%. So he's taking on more of the offense, and he's also getting less efficient. So it wasn't totally crazy to think that.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't think there's any way that he loses the starting job. That's how I feel. I feel like at this point, once he eventually does his full-on starting lineup, everything except small forward's a lock, and that's probably going to go to Knox now. So I just think those are all kind of foregone conclusions.
All right, so put the starting lineup out of the question then. What about the rest of the game? Like, do you see him being able to continue playing starters minutes, or do you think at some point he's going to end up getting the Hazonia treatment like he's been getting, or do you even think that he falls out of the closing lineup after a while too?
Oh, I think Mudiay is going to play for the rest of the season.
Yep.
That would be my guess. Unless they traded him, I think he's going to be anywhere from 18 to like 32 minutes a game. That he's going to be. Burke's the guy I would bet on. If I were to bet on someone, he'd be the guy who's playing, and either Frank or Mudiay will start. They'll both have their stretches of play where they start.
I kind of am of the opinion that Burke is going to have some more hot streaks this season, and I think there's going to be a couple of games where Trey Burke ends up starting at point guard again. It's so easy to see another stretch where it's going to be Mudiay struggling and Burke getting hot. It's just, we've seen it a couple of times this season. We've seen it, we saw it last season. I'm waiting for that, especially with Fizdale's rotational, decisions already kind of being in question from us. I just can easily see Trey Burke coming in, having another 30-point game or something, and then all of a sudden he's the starting point guard again. I'm not saying it'll be right. I just can see it happening.
I don't know. I almost feel like they know what he is the way we know what he is. That's almost the vibe I get from them. Like, they know he should be a bench scorer. That's just the way, the feel to it, the way they've kind of used him. That's just, I think he's like another guy who they kind of figured their role out. Like, none of this is true, factually. We don't know that, but it just really feels like that's the case to me.
No, go ahead, Bryan.
It should be pretty obvious.
Like, we've seen enough games where he kind of disappeared too when they asked him to be like the point guard or do too much, and then, we've seen his obvious scoring explosions. Nobody denies him of that, but he's the one guy when they talk when you see like NBA Twitter try to get cute and go, oh, what if we took that scoring player in the starting lineup and made him a scoring sixth man? Like, Trey Burke's actually the guy for that kind of thing. Like, he shouldn't be a big usage guy. He just comes off the bench, do what he's got to do, play against another second unit, get his buckets, and then go back to the bench.
So, all this is to say that basically, I think ideally here we would like Frank Ntilikina to be, hovering around the starting lineup even if he's not in it right away. He did score he did play the most minutes out of all the players on the bench tonight. And this was only the third time in his career that he has had double-digit scoring in back-to-back games. He did it once earlier this year with 16 points and 17 points against
the Nets,
Golden State and Brooklyn. Yep. And then last season, for the last 2 games of the year, he scored back-to-back double-digit points.
What was the Cavs and what was the other game?
Last year?
Yeah.
Was it Cavs Pacers?
2
Was it
seconds,
that?
I believe you're right. No, it was Cleveland.
What?
Right,
It was
they
home
played
and home.
back-to-back last year. I remember.
Yeah, home and home. So, and it's funny because it was 17 points to 16 points last year. And then earlier this season, it was 17 points to 16 points. And now this time it's 18 points to 16 points. It's this little hump that you just can't seem to get over. But, something just feels a little bit different about how he's been scoring this time around and how he feels about his shot this time around.
Well, he's too much of a thinker as a basketball player. Like, he's always, I think that's where he gets into trouble, it's like he knows he can do the things that need to be done, but then he's confused about which one to do because he's trying to make like the correct play sometimes or a safe option. But he just looks like he's not thinking for once, especially when he's shooting. And shooting, a lot of that is actually mental. Like, you can't go up going, oh man, I hope I don't miss this next shot. I hope I don't miss this next shot. You got to go up and you be like, no, I'm gonna fucking drill this shot. You got to step right into it, and that's the kind of attitude that I've seen him have.
Together now,
because to that point, we've actually seen him make a lot of dribble moves to actually create separation and get free. Mm-hmm. It's not just him hitting the threes from outside or getting to the rim a little bit. Like, he's actually both these last 2 games, he's actually behind his back, crossing over, step backs. There was a nifty little one he did in the post where he did a little step back. And it's just, that to me is the most encouraging because it's like he's actually looking to create his own offense versus just squaring up to the basket and taking some open threes. And it's like real off the dribble stuff. Like, not to like romanticize iso ball and all of that, but like that's the kind of ball he needs to play sometimes, like with that kind of mentality anyway.
His last 3 games, let's have some fun with small sample sizes here. He's averaging 13.7 points on 53% from the field, 58% from 3, 100% from the line. So, I mean, he's Steph Curry.
Yes.
I mean, obviously.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
Did you question anything else?
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Like, he's averaging 13 points over the last 3 games, right? But to me, that feels like an overachievement of what I would even consider a success for him. Like I said all summer, if he were to just double his scoring output, which sounds like it's a small feat, but it's kind of, it's a big deal, even though it's a 5 to 10 point jump is what I was asking for. If he just averaged 10 points with like a couple of rebounds, a couple of assists, and then his usual like steal and a half, 2 steals, I thought that would have been a really successful year at the end of the year. I would have looked back and been like, yep, he's scoring a little bit more. We're in double digits now. We're still seeing the defense, and I think that would have been no problem. And now he scores 13 points on average over the last 3 games, and then we're all like, yeah, Frank's balling the fuck out. It's funny to me how it's like the bar is so low for him to be like a really impactful starter.
Well, I think the reason why we're all like freaking out that Frank is balling out right now is because he's doing the things that we all have been saying that he should be doing in order to make him into that efficient scorer, that supplementary scorer who can at least hold his own on offense out there. He's pulling up on the open threes he gets. He's recognizing when he's got a good opportunity there. He's bringing himself to the line. He's cutting a little bit. He's at least trying to get in there on some plays. Like, he still has his moments where he looks kind of invisible out there, but he's just looked so much more engaged offensively, and that's been the biggest thing because there was just so many games to begin this season, towards the end of last year, where he just looked like he was afraid someone was going to pass him the ball, and it's just been encouraging to see him start to, who knows if he regresses to what his mean has been thus far, but his confidence at least is very encouraging moving forward.
Him and Knox have the same issue. They both need to learn how to get to the foul line, because if they don't, that means you need to shoot like above 40% from 3, and basically you have to shoot unrealistically from 2 and 3 to get to the efficiency level you'd want them to get to. It's exactly what we saw from Derrick Rose his year in New York. He actually shot the ball well from mid-range, but because he didn't make threes and he never got to the foul line, the rest of the game didn't come around with the efficiency that you wanted. So Frank and Knox both need, and they both have the size and length to be able to do it. They need to learn how to get to the foul line to hit the ceiling of their careers.
I'm very hopeful that Knox is going to. I just feel like just the way he still attacks the rim, he just is unsure about how to draw the contact and unsure of how to, finish correctly or even think about going left. But he still knows how to really aggressively go at the rim and then just kind of forgets what to do once he gets there. Frank, I feel like oftentimes when we've seen him kind of drift and fade in games, it's because he'll drive in and then instead of being aggressive or trying to go up if he's got an angle, he'll sort of like peel it back out on the low block and then try to kick out. So Frank's the guy I'm actually concerned about withdrawing, free throws, because that is a big thing for him, and it would really be a big advantage for him because I think once he gets going offensively with what we think is going to be his offense that he reaches, he's going to have he's kind of a walking mismatch for a lot of guards that have to defend him. So I think that's going to be, key to learn how to bait guys and get them into foul trouble. But Frank, I'm actually worried about. Knox, I'm really not.
I agree with how you broke down the difference between the two. Knox is definitely much closer to getting good at that than Frank is. Though my favorite Frank play tonight wasn't even a shot that he made. It was when his drive got kind of cut off. He realized he was bigger than Deladova, backed him down into a post-up on the block, read the defense, threw a cross-court pass out of the post for the corner, through Knox drained it.
It was really pretty.
That or the Knox sequence I brought up earlier were my favorite plays of the game.
One of the other little things I noticed as well was Frank. There was one play late in the third, I believe, where Frank got switched onto Larry Nance and held on to, just stayed in front of him down in the post and was able to pick off a pass that was coming in their way. And it turned into a little bit of a scramble, but then that went up the other way. I don't remember if that led to the Knicks scoring or not, but just his versatility on defense is so encouraging. It's so incredible to watch him play out there. Just like when the times when he's on and he's looking engaged, and a lot of times he only looks confident on defense when his offense is going well, which is kind of something that he's going to have to learn to cope with as well. But just when he's engaged defensively and able to, he can really defend a lot of positions out there on the court, and him being able to chip in those couple of points a game. It's like he needs to learn how to get to the line, like you guys are saying. He needs to pull up on those threes very easily and everything. But just being able to be that kind of supplemental 3-and-D guy, a superb defense and quality offensive option out there too. It's just these last couple of games have looked so encouraging to what he could be moving forward.
The other side. On defense tonight, I actually thought he had a poor play that really stuck out to me. It was on the Hood, what ended up being the dagger shot late in the fourth quarter. He let Hood get back to his left hand, and in that situation, he can't let Hood spin to his left like that. He has to be more aware of who he's guarding and what that person is going to try and do. I think that's something he'll learn in time as he starts to learn the league better, but he has to leverage his length and size a little bit better in a situation like that and not let someone get to a spot. Serious question. Do you ever think that when we see young players timid defensively in those situations, especially in Frank's case, that they're afraid to foul? Because we know Frank's tendency to be a little handsy. So I wonder if that was a concern that late in the game. He didn't want to have the foul issues again. Watching the replay of that, when they showed the replay, I don't think it was a foul thing. I think his angle, he should have been a little bit higher up on the shoulder so Hood couldn't spin into it. And I think he was a little bit too farther back and he let Hood spin into his spot. I wish I was smarter and I could say whether it was the right or left shoulder. He wasn't far enough above so people could actually get a better visual of it, but I'm not. I'm too stupid to do that. Sorry.
Frank thankfully only had one foul tonight, too, which, compared to his last game, which got ended abruptly by his 6 fouls, that was good to see. It looked like he was a little hesitant on some defensive plays tonight, like you're saying, but at least he was able to stay out of foul trouble. It's just kind of learning to mitigate the two of those to figure out how to be effective. One of the other, just while we're still on Frank here, I looked up, I was reading up about when Knicks players' birthdays and everything the other day. And Frank Ntilikina, believe it or not, is younger than Mitchell Robinson. He's 3 months younger than Mitchell Robinson. And it's just the conversation and the discussion we were having around Frank Ntilikina the last couple of weeks and all the trade rumors and everything like that. And for him to be younger than Mitchell Robinson, who has the leash of all leashes right now, it's just funny to me. It's just something I wanted to point out before we got off Frank.
He really is younger, huh? Wow.
Yeah. Frank was born July 28th, 1998, and Mitchell Robinson was April 1st, 1998. So
he would have been one of the youngest players in the most recent draft class.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Incredible. It's so funny the perspective we have on these conversations sometimes, and he's the second youngest guy on the team. It's incredible. But anyway. All right, do we have anything else we want to discuss from tonight's game, or do we want to look at the schedule moving forward?
We got, Charlotte on Friday. I think that's another 7 p.m. start.
Yep, playing the Hornets again on Friday. The 7 p.m. start threw me off today. I was definitely a half an hour behind.
I really disapprove of these 7 p.m. starts. It's way harder for me to get home from work.
You guys don't get to fucking complain. Stop it.
It's kind of ideal. All right.
Hey, why don't I?
It's kind of ideal for me because I get a 6 o'clock game, and that's a nice start time for a game. But I just thought it was 6:30.
No, because first of all, I'm already angry that Ant gets the extra hour. The extra hour is I think the perfect cushion. I think
have the same amount of hours as you do in a day.
It is. You get the extra hour. Stop it. So he gets that little buffer to be able to stay up a little bit later and watch the West Coast games, and then he also gets to watch the East Coast games earlier. Meanwhile, we get these games.
Funny, the only thing I'm doing when I'm staying up late is editing this fucking podcast until 3 a.m. So
Stern but fair.
Stop it.
But
Hey,
but no, but Bryan.
Yeah, I know.
Bryan's finishing up work. Fucking, he could pull up League Pass on his phone, just watch whatever he wants. Wouldn't that be so nice as you're leaving work and then the latest game for you is 7 o'clock?
Kyle,
Wouldn't that be nice?
I drive home and I'm holding my phone in my hand, watching the game as I drive.
Yeah, it's totally safe. That's a good problem to have.
The grass is always greener, I guess.
Meanwhile, the West Coast games just started. You know, like those games just started, and after this podcast, I have to go to sleep.
Nothing was worse than being in college and having to wake up early to watch football on Saturday and Sundays. Now it's cool because I'm a little bit more, I adult a little bit more.
Wow.
And yeah, but imagine like you were in college and you had to wake up to watch football at 9 a.m. on a Saturday.
No one's up.
Well, I've been trying to weasel my way into watching Premier League, and just the start times on those games are they just throw me way off. I have not been very successful this season.
Anthony,
I've been trying to
from?
Yeah. What?
Where are you from?
I'm from Long Island.
So where's why are you getting an extra hour then? Where
do I live now? I live in Chicago now.
I like Chicago.
I like Chicago too, man.
I
It's cold as fuck right now though, but
Oh, it was like 60. It was 70 degrees this afternoon.
fuck you.
He wore a hoodie. It was a little chilly.
You're a piece of shit.
My God.
You know that?
Unbelievable.
You're a piece of shit.
It was a nice 35-degree day out today for me, so I walked home from the gym.
3 layers on today, the entire day.
And I had 2 layers on also. I mean, 70. I got the chills.
Hey, you almost fainted from the cold.
Might have to turn on the heat tonight. It might hit like 55.
I will punch you in the teeth. I really will.
I got my blanket out on the couch.
Several space heaters, not just one.
This man's going to bed with a duvet with no insert. And we're over here just freezing our asses off. Ugh.
Go to bed with 9 blankets. Still cold.
Yeah, right. Fucking Kyle's huddled in between his 2 dogs.
I was about to say your dogs keep you warm, don't they?
Yeah, he's one of them. The other guy is just skin and bones.
You're nestled in Mellow like he's a tauntaun or something.
No, that little mother. He goes all the way under the fucking covers by the foot of the bed, and then he starts there, and then he works his way back up. So then I wake up, and his head's on my pillow, staring at me. It's very creepy. Does he think he's a person? It's not a thing that you should be doing.
Does he drool on you?
No. He lays the exact same way as me now every morning.
Are you saying that dog doesn't drool at all?
Oh, Mellow drools. Mason doesn't.
Oh yeah. Oh okay.
No, it's not Mellow. Mellow. If that was the case, then he'd have to have his own mattress. But
I was about to say the dog on the bed would be so much better if he was just leaving massive piles of drool everywhere. Well, for our entertainment, not really for you.
No, I have not had a drool puddle issue yet, which is not the thing I'd ever say on this podcast.
Yeah, well, since we're on the topic of drool puddles, do you guys have anything else, or are we closing this thing out?
Just same plugs as always. We've seen you guys are actually listening when we say please rate and review and subscribe, so please keep doing that.
Who won the T-shirt contest? Do you have that on?
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up actually just now. So the T-shirt contest closed for the limited edition Mario Hezonja Step Over that Anthony crafted.
It feels like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it really does. This basketball time is different. You know, it's almost like internet time. It's just.
You guys made shirts for that.
It was good. People bought them.
Did they really?
People said as soon as I memed it when I did the Iverson Step Over thing, and then everybody said print the shirts. And when they said the people ask, People aren't asking you, print the shirts. They're telling you print the shirts. So you print the goddamn shirts.
You gotta move fast.
Yeah, so we did that. And the person who won the @name is I'm just gonna spell it out because it's @ANMITSUGOD. So Anmit Sugod, apparently.
All right, I missed
Also known as Caramel King. That guy, he won the limited edition Step Over hoodie. So congrats to him. But just make sure you check out the store in general. We dropped a new French Prince design. It was made by Ryan Gray. It really is spectacular. It's maybe my favorite thing in that store now. So make sure you give it a look. It was just on sale. If not, I think sale or not, this is the last week for you guys to get it in before Christmas, guaranteed. So make sure you do that. But outside of that, make sure you give us a nice 5-star review in the pod. Subscribe, obviously, and that's about it.
Yep.
Say nice things about us.
Yeah, say nice things. We always like
Help
to hear
us.
nice things. Yeah. Or,
Mean things about me, but be nice.
You could say... Don't say mean things about Bryan. He's new around here. You can say all the mean things you want about Kyle and I, but be nice to Bryan.
For sure.
I'm going to get yelled at. I made fun of Clyde. It took me less than an episode and a half.
So I was surprised. I thought you were going to come out guns blazing the first night, but you didn't. You held strong.
I did.
You're just easing your way in like you're Frank, man. It's all good. All right. We done here? Let's get out of here. Everybody, have a good night. Thank you for listening. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Bryan. We'll talk to you all next week.
Take it easy, folks.